Let me assure you that this will have nothing to do with the coronavirus epidemic. This is about 2 songs and a speech by Bob Dylan. Some time ago, I listened to an interview with Bob Dylan, like around 1960. No, not an interview. It was what would have been called back then a press conference. I thought it was rather interesting, so I wrote one of these about it. Since then, I have watched 2 videos, each purporting to examine the lyrics of a Dylan song. The first was about All Along the Watchtower in a video entitled Why Bob Dylan Won the Nobel Prize for Literature. The speaker in the video said that the 12 lines in the song contain more substance than most novels and some trilogies. He goes on to look at the Joker and the thief in the song and whether or not they might be the 2 writers who are approaching, or are they 2 sides of Dylan himself, or Dylan and Elvis, or Jesus, or one of the thieves crucified with him. He leans toward religious symbolism as he says there are 70 biblical references in the album in which the song appears. John Wesley Harding. Dylan is known for writing great, long, sprawling, episodic songs, and I think Watchtower benefits in impact from its relatively short length. Going on would dilute it. It is an ominous, foreboding song prophesizing some dark, unknown, imminent doom. The second Dylan song considered by a second person was Tangled Up in Blue. The speaker here also liked this song. He called it nothing short of a musical and lyrical masterpiece. I think that Tangled Up in Blue is not just one of the best songs in Dylan's career, he said, but one of the greatest works of art of the modern age. People have pulled all sorts of meaning from this song, he says, just after deciphering the sexual innuendo in the line, "She bent down to tie the laces of my shoe." I also liked Tangled Up in Blue. It doesn't have the menace of Watchtower. It's a love song. It's a love song in which the love doesn't work out in various times and for various reasons. The singer might prefer to be in love, but instead finds himself tangled up in blue, the opposite of They Lived Happily Ever After. And boy, let me say that I think Tangled Up in Blue is a very precise expression. The singer is given a book of poetry from the 13th century, maybe Dante's Vita Nuova, love songs for Beatrice, who died and no doubt left poor Dante, tangled up in blue. And that doggone blue can really tangle you up. I also came across a speech Bob Dylan made on the occasion of receiving the Nobel Prize. The speech surprised me. It was almost academic in nature. He credits Leadbelly as an inspiration, and that fits, but then he goes on about Buddy Holly. He loved everything about Buddy Holly, everything. Saw him in person, singing 6 feet away 2 days before he died at the age of 22. Dylan was 19. Dylan said he learned everything he could from other songwriters, how to write a ballad, rhyme, meter, all the techniques and tricks, and then he started singing his own stuff, sometimes in front of 3 or 4 people. The bulk of his speech is devoted to 3 sources: Moby Dick, All Quiet on the Western Front, and The Odyssey. He loved the way that Melville crammed everything on board the Pequod, the culture, philosophies, how one captain lost an arm to a whale and did not think about it, just went on whaling, while another loses a leg and gives his entire life over to vengeance. Dylan spends quite a lot of time with this book. He has less to say about the Western Front, probably because it spells out the end of everything: individualism, hope, innocence, courtesy, even life. It's all bad. The horrors of war, rotting flesh and rats, death, systematic murder, living in a hell relieved only by dying. I'll never read another war book, Dylan says. And The Odyssey, a soldier trying to return home, prevented by some gods from doing so for 10 years. He has many adventures, like meeting Achilles in hell, Achilles wishing he hadn't died a hero, wishing he could be alive as a peasant. Dylan quotes a short piece by John Donne, with allusions I did not catch, and he says, "I don't know what that means, but it sounded good. A song should sound good." And he says, remember that songs are meant to be sung and heard, not read on paper. Bob Dylan was a musician and a singer, but most emphatically a songwriter, a poet. And he says at the end of his Nobel talk, "Sing to me, O Muse, and through me tell the story." I am not a poet, but I believe that it takes a great deal and a special kind of person to believe in that, to believe that is true, that there is a muse, and this is the process that can happen. Dylan wanted to write songs that sounded different from everything else, strange, otherworldly stuff, and I think he succeeded because of his lyrics, which came from the muse, and because of that voice, so unlike the mainstream sounds of Bing Crosby, Frank Sinatra, and Elvis Presley. So insistent was he on being himself. All the singers he truly respected, including Buddy Holly with his black glasses and his 3 voices. That was it. That was their secret. They were completely themselves.